Hello everyone, I'm Nick, Montreal Sparky, a contractor from Canada, electrician, and we're here at the Milwaukee Pipeline 2024 to discuss the new Rotary hammer solutions from Milwaukee.
Awesome. So my name's Brittany Sellnow. I'm a group product manager here at Milwaukee Tool, covering all our concrete products. This year we're really excited to announce something that's brand new to World. So what we're really highlighting here is our M18 fuel overhead rotary hammer. So you had a little bit of a chance to look at this yesterday at the event.
I did, yeah.
But like I said, really focused on exactly the commercial electrician and making sure we're making your job as easy as possible. What were some of the things that stood out to you about this product?
Well, first of all, I noticed that we're dealing with a unit that's all in one, right? We don't have any vacuum to plug in or to take out or to clean out. It's everything's on board from the get-go. The first thing that stood out to me is the weight. When I picked that up, honestly, I expected to be way harder to pull it up above my head. So for me, that's a big deal when you don't have to worry about extra weight or extra things sticking out in the way, especially when you're drilling overhead, putting racking or following a path to put up strut. You don't want to have anything that can take more space than it needs. So to me, that was a big deal.
And what are you guys using today to do your ceiling drilling? What does your setup look like for dust collection?
Well, it's the standard rotary hammer with an onboard vac. We have a couple of them behind us. It works good. Never had an issue really so far, but now that I know a product like this exists or is coming to market, for sure it would probably make the job even a little easier, faster, and safer.
And have you noticed any changes in terms of how often people are requiring you to use dust collection or any complaints about dust collection as
absolutely.
a whole?
So in Canada, they're actually cracking down on anytime we're dealing with concrete or masonry, anytime there's silica involved, there's a zero tolerance policy on commercial jobs. I mean, you can get away with some stuff on residential jobs, but there's a lot more safety inspections on commercial jobs or industrial, and they want you to have something to capture that dust directly at the source. So either you're using a dust extractor with a hose and some shroud attachment, but you don't see any more guys just raw dogging it with no vacuum. You need something, otherwise you could get in trouble and get a big fine.
When you use those attachments, because as you said, they work pretty well, right? I think those started to get released into the market by almost every brand several years ago when OSHA first started cracking down, at least here in the States.
Yeah.
But when you're using those attachments, are there certain orientations or certain types of jobs where the attachment is not ideal?
Yes.
Okay, can you talk to me about that a little bit?
Well, if you have to extend behind something or it's very narrow space, sometimes it just doesn't fit. So you have no choice to take it out, and then you're going against the actual rules or the safety rules to get that one hole in. But you got to do your job, right? So
Absolutely. I think that was really the driving inspiration. So when we were out on job sites, as you mentioned, those attachments have been available forever. I think they definitely still have their place on sites. But the big thing we noticed was, the expectation between the safety manager on site and the reality that is performing your job and getting your work
worlds.
done, right?
Yeah.
We'd ask, do you use dust collection? Everyone's like, yeah, 100%. And then you look around and there's always an exception. There's always somewhere it didn't fit or, somebody forgot it. So that really said, hey, how do we bring those two expectations together and make it so that you guys are following safety regulations on site, keeping yourself safe and healthy, and making it less cumbersome and less of a pain to do that. So really building that vacuum straight into the tool was kind of our step in that direction to hopefully make it fit in more places and fewer times you're going to have to remove that attachment.
So we touched on this a little bit earlier, but did you go to the job site and ask directly the workers, what do you want in your rotary hammer? Or is it you were listening to what they were saying and how they sometimes have to cheat to get the last few holes in, and then you decided or you came up with the idea to make everything all in one?
Yeah, that's a great question. So really, if we're doing our jobs right, it's less about asking people what solutions they want and making sure that we are understanding the problems that they're facing. So most of the time it was watching, right? Because see and say is different. So again, what somebody will tell you they do versus how they actually work can look different because of obstacles on site. So It was a lot of observation and then asking, hey, I noticed, you removed the attachment or you're not using one today. Tell me about that. Why aren't you? What are some problems and pain points you have with it? When you find out that a lot of it is, hey, it's adding extra weight and I'm holding it over my head all day long. So if I can get away with not using it, I'm not going to, right?
Yep.
So getting a lot of that feedback helped us take a first stab at, okay, let's address those root problems, being weight, that functionality in terms of a small package, and then also making sure that it's still that OSHA Table 1 compliant.
That's it. Because up until now, if weight was your issue, you were going to go with a really compact unit, which more often than not did not have any kind of vacuum attachment available. Mm-hmm. So right there and then you for sure were not in compliance. But that's it. So you found a way to manage or to put together something that really answers both the weight problem and also the dust extraction problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're most excited about is when you get to the root of the problem, you end up delivering a much better solution than just focusing on making each of the two individual components as small as possible. In fact, one of my favorite parts of designing this was the slower speeds you drill, the smaller you can make everything in the tool. So we started with a fairly slow performing hammer in our early tests that was really small. Okay. But we found out very quickly that even though people are asking for a small tool, if it's really slow, you're just holding a lightweight product over your head for 2 times longer, right?
They're not willing to sacrifice performance.
Exactly. Yeah. So we quickly learned, hey, it's got to be kind of that perfect mixture, that sweet spot between performance, size, weight, and getting you all of that functionality in the best package possible.
Yeah, very good.
In terms of the side handle design, I know one of the other things we saw a lot of on site is people not using side handles. Can you speak to that at all? Has that been your experience with traditional handles?
To be fair, I'm one of the guys who immediately, you open a brand new tool, comes with a side handle, take it, put it to the side, never use it. With this, at least, it's not in the way. Mm-hmm. You found a way to have your handle that I'm not tempted to just take it off completely. I like it, and especially the fact that you can just switch it from one side to the other. So whether you're left-handed or right-handed, or if for just whatever reason you need to reach in a certain spot. I'm not a big side handle user, but with something like this, I would be tempted to at least try it.
Yeah, that was the goal too. Are you always using the same tool? Or are you ever sharing rotary hammers with other people on site?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the other things we found is you've got people who are really never wanting to use the side handle, but the next person might want to. And if it has already been tossed...
Yeah, you have to put it back on or waste time. Yeah.
More times than not, it's missing altogether, right? Mm-hmm. So hoping that we can, give you the option. Obviously, two-handed drilling is what we're always going to recommend. It's the safest way to perform the application. But this definitely gives that personal preference of left to right as well.
Yeah. But I'm sure, even if you were to use it one-handed, you have some technology in there it's not going to bind on you or break your wrist, right?
Right, absolutely. So we do have AUTOSTOP built in, which is something that you'll see across lots of different Milwaukee tools, but that is going to protect you from the over-rotation during a bind-up.
All right. Yeah.
Anything else stick out to you or any questions that you had about this unit in particular, or either of the other two rotary hammers we saw yesterday?
This one, I did ask the question yesterday, how come we went with the plastic cone instead of metal or something maybe a little bit more durable, but you had a really good point to her.
Yeah, so our front attachment here, that is something that I think a lot of people call out and notice, is this is intentionally a plastic design. When you look at the body of the tool, we know that this is going to get thrown in a job box. It's going to get thrown in the back of a truck, dropped throughout the day. And really, you kind of want to design in an intentional break point. And so for us, that meant making these shrouds readily replaceable, really easy to do. You just pop off each of these side tabs with a screwdriver. So we want this to be the breaking point if you are throwing the tool around, which keeps really the business end of the tool in tip-top shape.
Yeah, everything else. Metal casing.
Exactly. Yep. So these will be sold as 3 packs, so easily replaceable on site. Really keeps you up and running.
And from your job site testings, has anyone complained about the placement of the bit or the way you can line up your mark?
Yeah, great question. So what's your experience like today with the dust attachments on the front? Do you have issue kind of seeing where you need to make your mark?
Yeah, more often than not, I still need to pull it back a little, line up the center of the bit, and then you release and you go.
Perfect. So yeah, we were seeing that with not just Milwaukee, but all versions that are made today with the dust nozzle on the end. It's really hard to see exactly where you want to drill. Not foolproof, but we did take steps to really make that an easier viewing process. So you can tell the shroud is black, right? You can't see through it. You can't see the end of your bit. But rather than overextending and pulling back like you're doing today, just made a very easy grab bar so that you can kind of get your bit lined up, release it.
Maybe we should line it up, yeah, just like that.
So you can line up the bit on the ceiling and then release it, and you have confidence every time that you're right on that mark.
Yeah. I mean, do we have a bit to put it in and show?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So the other question we get a lot of is, hey, with that shroud on the front, do I need to remove that to put a bit in? And you definitely do not need to. So you don't even have to pull that collar back. You're just going to go ahead and twist until it locks into place. And then again, for easy bit viewing, you can just pull this back until you're lined up, and then you're good to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that was one concern of mine, like a shroud like this where you don't see the bit, but I realized you only need to see it when you line yourself up. When it's turning and doing its job, you don't need to see it. So
right. At that point, you just want to collect as much dust out of your face as possible, right?
And you went with fabric instead of plastic or something that would have been see-through because it's more durable?
Yeah, absolutely. So these bits, when you're drilling through pan decking or just in general throughout the day, they're going to get very hot. So you don't want that flexibility and pouring holes into the side of the shroud.
That's going to resist to heat?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So my question for you is, after seeing something like this, how do you think this would fit into your day? Where do you think you would use this versus maybe still have a need for a traditional style rotary hammer?
Well, my company is not a huge commercial outfit. I don't have 20 guys under me and doing mega projects, so probably I wouldn't use it as much as one of those larger contractors. But I do see the value of this, especially if you're doing a lot of racking, a lot of commercial jobs. You're going to have those marks already lined up for every train, and everyone's going to drill their holes at some point. So something like this, where you put one guy all day long drilling holes overhead and putting in tap cons or anchors or whatnot, that's going to be quite the money maker right there, for sure.
Absolutely. And so for you, when this isn't quite a fit, right, those mega jobs that you're talking about, what were your thoughts on our other two launches? So we have a M12 and our M18 Fuel 5/8 traditional style rotary hammer, our second generation. What did you think of those?
Being exposed to the previous generation, I was really surprised by how light they were. I mean, again, if we can get them in the front, maybe you can show the people, but it's really an improvement over the older design, which, first of all, had no vacuum attachment or no compatibility. But yeah, the other one would be really the all-purpose tool that I would reach for probably, or keep in a service truck. But if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of overhead drilling, I'm going to go for this. But I think it would work pretty well for any kind of small fasteners, even on a horizontal plane, right? You would be able to capture your dust with
that's
the
a
vacuum
great
going.
point. So with this tool, the optimal dust collection is definitely in that orientation. It's got gravity working with that vacuum. But it is still Table 1 compliant if you're drilling horizontal or downward. Again, the important part is keeping that dust out of your lungs. So you may have some dust left behind when drilling downward, or some of it fall from the wall here. But it is keeping that respirable dust down, where the other hammers are going to do, more.
You would say
collection.
they would be more efficient for horizontal drilling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
So I think that's a really good point, though, is, we've got so many different solutions and they're not one size fits all. This definitely has its place on the job, and we're really excited for what it means for that long continuous drilling. But I think there's definitely still a home for those traditional two-piece designs with the dust attachment. So really excited to see those next-gen products on the SDS Plus line as well.
All right, so we touched on the all-purpose rotary hammer or compact rotary hammer, and I guess we can take a closer look.
So we have 2 additional new launches on the traditional line. So we've got the M12 that I've got in front of me here, as well as the M18. So these are fuel 5/8 next generation products. So all new feature sets, more than double the performance of the previous generation.
And now for the first time on a compact model, 5/8, we do get a vacuum attachment.
Correct, yes. So the previous generation was actually still a brushed product for Milwaukee. So honestly, pretty overdue for an upgrade. So we're really excited with what we've got here. It does have the dust collection. So just as we talked about before, that size and weight now is much, much more manageable than having to step up to a 1-inch rotary hammer for maybe, those small 1/4-inch and 1/2-inch holes.
And we also have chipping mode now.
Absolutely, yes. So a lot of times on these small style hammers, people overlook the chipping function. Now, don't get me wrong, these aren't going to be your grab-and-go demolition style tools, right?
No.
But when you've got small amounts of overpour, you're working around a junction box or electrical outlet, and you just have small minor chipping, that's really what these products are going to be great for.
I guess it's hard to stress how light this is, or maybe we're not going to be able to convey it in front of the camera, but that's really light.
Yes.
You could be doing this all day like that, no problem. And how did you manage to make something like this with an additional vac attachment so light?
Yeah, so just like with the overhead hammer, we knew that extra weight was definitely problematic. So we still wanted to provide a solution that was a 2-piece design for that versatility and make sure that when we did that, the hammer vac or the dust collection attachment didn't become bigger than the tool itself, right? We spent so much effort keeping that tool nice and small. We wanted to make sure that the vacuum was also small. And so how the team did that was really minimize the separate components that were needed to put into the vacuum itself. So it's actually being powered completely by the tool. It's being driven by the tool's motor and battery, which keeps the outer package for that vacuum nice and compact. Awesome. Well, thank you, Nick, so much for joining us. It was great to have you here at Pipeline 2024, and I appreciate all the insight. We're super excited to bring all these new products to market.
It's been a real pleasure, and I can't wait to use them on the job.
Thank you.
Thank you.